Hey, what up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So, sorry to also delay this video. I just wanted to get my builds down for this GM because it's a new one. But this is what you want to be using for the Mars Battleground Europa this season. So hopefully you guys enjoy. This is actually my favorite builds to actually rock in here. It's crazy how good they are and how easy it is to just get through everything. So we'll get straight into the video and we'll get straight into the first build. First build is a Foe Tracer design build. So this build would be paired up with something that is strand oriented. So quick reference, this is what Foe Tracer does because a lot of people still don't understand. Damaging a powerful combatant or a guardian with an ability grants a temporary bonus to weapon damage matching your subclass type. Defeating that target with a matching weapon, that damage type of your subclass creates an elemental pickup. So these would create your tangles, your ionic tracers, your fire sprites. And then you pair that with a harmonic siphon, so you get orbs of power, creating that. This build just goes off the charts. I use these mods with it: heavy ammo finder, hands on, harmonic siphon, fastball, bolstering detonation, grenade kickstart, void resist, arc resist, and solo resist, invigoration, stack on stacks, and inveneration. Sorry if I don't pronounce something correctly. I do have really bad things when it comes to that. Bomber, powerful attraction, and Reaper. For my subclass, this is what I rock. I rock Maskman Dodge, Triple Jump, Threaded Spike, Shackle Nade, Widow Silk, Whirling Maelstrom, Thread of Continuity, Thread of Binding, Thread of Generation, and Thread of Warding. So Thread of Warding is paired up with your strand weapon with the harmonic surges, or the harmonic siphon, sorry. So when you get a kill with your weapon, you can get instant woven mail. At the same time, you can utilize these builds in multiple ways. Another way to utilize your boots, and this is where you can change something like invigoration. So I was actually kind of wrong on using this one. It was meant to be recuperation, sorry. So when you pick up an orb, you just start regenerating health immediately. I do apologize for the misconception. It is a recuperation, not invigoration, or whatever the fuck it is. Obviously, just go back to the video and just look up that bit because I'm lazy. Otherwise, the next build is pretty much a Graviton forfeit build to rock throughout the entire GM. Personally speaking, I found using Kinetic Siphon, Harmonic Siphon as a combo works quite nicely. Wish Ender creating a ton of orbs as well as my Void weapons. I'll get into more detail why. I also use Heavy Ammo Finder. Again, Graviton Forfeit, this is what it does. If you're not sure, increase the duration of invisibility effects. While you're invisible, your melee recharges faster, your weapons reload faster, and your recovery is greatly increased. I pair that with melee kickstart and a firepower mod, arc and harmonic siphon, charged up, invigoration, stack on stacks, and innovation, bomber, proximity ward, and reaper. So I need to quickly explain something as well. When you're using a void subclass with hunter, more or less you will never need to use a better already or recuperation mod as long as you're rocking this on your aspects and fragments. So aspects, trappers, ambush, and vanishing step. So I use suppression grenade. You can use the vortex grenade if you want. I'd say vortex is more effective. Triple jump, gambler's dodge, deadfall, Echo of Obscurity, Echo of Starvation, which is the mod that you really want to be using, Echo of Starvation, because when you pick up an orb, it grants Devourer, which regens your health. If you don't know, Devourer up top, feast on energy of foes, final blows restore you to full health, grant grenade energy, and extend Devourer. Echo of Dilation and Echo of Persistence. So I have the longer invis for my entire run. The only other build to pair this with is a carbon copy of the build, which is Omni Inoculus. So this just goes the route of playing more of a support role for your team instead. So if you're going to play that role, this is what Omni does. You gain a second smoke bomb charge and have damage resistance while invis. You and an ally gain damage resistance and melee energy. So the more people you pretty much smoke up, your energy will come back for your melee. So they reworked it a while ago, so it works like this pretty much. If I use a smoke bomb on 2 allies, I'll get my smoke back immediately. If I use it on 1, I get half of it back. That's the whole reason I pair it with a melee kickstart. You'll understand in a moment. So I use kinetic siphon, heavy ammo finder, again harmonic siphon as well with this build. And then we also pair that with firepower, fastball, and melee kickstart. Arc and void resist with charged up. Invigoration, stack on stacks, invigoration, reaper, outreach, and proximity ward. Outreach is obviously to get your melee back when you dodge. So the weapons I use are just going to be like a blinding build. That's all I kind of use for this GM as well. Otherwise, I just mentioned this is what I use: Trapper's Ambush and Vanishing Step. This combination has to be active for both this build and Graviton for it to work effectively. Suppression Grenade, Snare Bomb, Triple Jump, Gambler's Dodge, Mobivius Quiver. You can use whatever you want. I feel Omni works best with this sort of build because it helps you nuke ads faster. Echo of Persistence, Echo of Starvation, Echo of Obscurity, and Echo of Dilation. This is what I like to rock on my Hunter, or this is what I like to rock for my Hunter. I hope you guys enjoyed the Hunter vid. I'm going to quickly go and make your Warlock builds and your Titan builds for this week. Otherwise, happy farming, and yeah, continue going on in the next part of the video because we'll do the Warlock next as well. But I do want to quickly get some heads up and tips. If you are rocking this with a no mic LFG, you will struggle. A recommendation is having a Invis Hunter and a Phoenix Lock is my best recommendation for the entire GM. Otherwise, we'll go on to the Warlock next, boys and girls. You can't forget that. You can't forget that. Hey, we're back with a Warlock build. So this is what you want to be using on a Warlock. Obviously, I don't go through weapons. I describe what type of weapons I would recommend, but this is the build that I use for Warlock. There are 3 across every character that I roughly use. One's a primary build that I use all the time, and 2 are just builds that I would rock with friends. So this build here is a Vesper Rades build. If you don't know what it does, Vesper Rades periodically release arc shockwaves. Final blows with these shockwaves create an arc explosion. While an arc subclass is equipped, the shockwaves subsequent explosions blind near targets, so this is also a blinding based effect. Rift energy faster when you are surrounded by targets, so the more people who are around you when you're putting the rift down, the faster you'll get it back. This gem is a perfect example in the boss room, first room, and third room of how many ads will just swarm you. We'll get straight into the build, but so overall we use Ashes to Assets, Kinetic Siphon, Heavy Ammo Finder, Bolstering Detonation, Fastball, and Firepower, Triple Resist, Void, Solar, and Arc, Insulation, Stack on Stacks, and Recuperation. So the reason why we don't go into a grenade-based build is because this is more designed to get your Rift back immediately or get your Rift back more frequently. So we go with Utility Kickstart, Bomber, and Powerful Attractions. If you're wondering why we use Bomber and Utility Kickstart with Powerful Attractions when you put down a Rift will grab all the extra orbs around you, and if you're already armor charge set, you will get your Rift back pretty much immediately. So you get a chunk of your Rift back, plus all the bonuses, plus using other abilities and that just stack on and pile up, and done. You're pretty much infinitely blinding everything, and you're constantly spamming Rifts down. Personally, one of my more favorite design type builds that I've done in a long time. Otherwise, go with Stormcaller, Electrostatic Mine, Arc Soul, Pulse Grenade, Ball Lightning, Burst Glide, Healing, Rift, Chaos Reach, Spark of Ions, Spark of Volts, Spark of Magnitude, and Spark of Shock is what I use across this build. I use this in pretty much all my GMs whenever I'm playing with friends. The next build is another Arc Design build, which is based around Sunstar instead. So we're going to actually go more on the grenade side of things. If you don't know what Sunstar does, it improves your Ionic Trace rate. So Ionic Tracers move faster and grant additional ability energy. Nearby enemies allies also gain ability energy when they collect an Ionic Trace. Well, with this thing, you just got to be an Ionic Trace machine. So first things first, you want to have, again, Kinetic Siphon, Heavy Ammo Finder, Ashes to Assets, Grenade Kickstart, Bolstering Detonation, and Firepower. Void resist, harmonic resist, which is arc resist because you're using the matching subclass. Charged up, so you get an extra. Charged up is an optional one. If you don't think you have the survivability, change it to another resist or a concussive dampener. But if you think you have the survivability, I would recommend using charged up. Stack on stacks, recuperation, inversion, powerful attractions, bomber, and distribution. The reason why I put distribution on this build instead of another bomber is the fact that you got to probably place your rifts more closer to enemies than when you realize, or what you realize in general. Similar as is, on the build, you go with Arc Soul, Electrostatic Mine, Pulse Nade, Ball Lightning, Burst Glide, Healing, Chaos Reach, Spark of Ions, Spark of Volts, Spark of Magnitude, Spark of Shock, Electrostatic Mine, and Arc Soul. I think I just said that again. The reason why, if anyone's wondering, why does he keep saying use Kinetic Siphon? I use Wish Ender, so Wish Ender is one of my best weapons to just siphon everything. I think like that's the only way to really put it. Wish Ender is probably one of my favorite exotics in the game right now as well. So I should say, it looks like the build that I made for this, I actually have to fucking redo. Alrighty, I didn't get to quickly make this one because I forgot to add this with the Warlock builds, but this is what you should be using with a Phoenix Lock build as well. So I got all my mods on that rearranged and fixed it up to where it actually is what it is. You want to be using Kinetic Siphon, Ashes to Ashes, Heavy Ammo Finder, Grenade Kickstart, Firepower, Fastball. If you want, you don't need Fastball. I like it because it gives me more distance. Solar Resist, Void, and Arc Resist. Stack on stacks, Recuperation, Invigoration, sorry. Bomber, and Powerful Attraction. And then what we're going to be using is Touch of Flame, Icarus Dash, Still, Fusion Grenade, Celestial Fire, Burst Glide, Healing Rift, Ember of Benevolence, Ember of Resolve, Ember of Searing, and Ember of Ashes. So we'll pretty much have an ultimate Scorch plus Demolitionist type build where we'll just keep blowing stuff up and being charged of light. The reason why we use both Ashes and Firepower with this Kinetic Siphon is pretty much we want to get our super back as frequently as possible. And obviously I use Kinetic instead of Harmonics on builds like this because I'm using more or less, I'm not using auto rifles, I'm using Wish Ender majority of my runs. So that's why I keep saying Wish Ender is really good for these sort of things. Otherwise, I'll go to the Titan builds next. I hope you guys enjoy those ones. There's only really going to be 2 builds I'll upload for Titan, and they'll be, well, 3 again, sorry. 2, 3, whatever you guys feel comfortable using. Hey guys, these are the final builds of the day, or these are the final builds of the video, I should say. I recommend using these as well throughout the Nightfall. These just dominate the playing field, especially if you have multiple teammates using this as a combination set. This is how I recommend going for the current Nightfall, again on Titan. So the first one is a Heart of Immortal Light Arc build. So we're using Kinetic Siphon, Ashes, Assets, Heavy Ammo Finder, Firepower, Fastball, and Grenade Kickstart. Void Resist, Harmonic Resist, Charged Up, Stack on Stacks, Recuperation, Invigoration, Powerful Attraction, Distribution, and Bomber. So we get our abilities back faster. However, more slight, when you use one ability, it changes an effect that tags to the others to recharge faster for 5 seconds. So what you're also using on this, you have to be using Thunder, Touch of Thunder, Knockout, Pulse Grenade, Seismic Strike, Choice, whatever you want to use. I'd say Seismic. I find it better. I use Catapult, Live, and Thruster. Thruster is kind of a must on this build. Thruster is probably your ace in the hole. Thunder Crash, Spark of Magnitude, Spark of Shock, Spark of Resistance, and Spark of Ions. I love this build, but I'm just going to give it a heads up right now. Survivability is there, but if you can't survive, then this is not the build for you. The secondary build is a replica of the build combined. It is going into a T-Crash dominancy build, which is Curious of the Falling Star, which will increase your T-Crash damage substantially. So what I use is Harmonic Siphon. I normally use this with like something like a Trash Rifle or just an anti or unstop hand cannon, something that's just the element. And I don't really use a Wish Ender for this. I more play passively. But I use Harmonic Siphon, Ashes Assets, Grey Kickstart, Bolstering Debt, Firepower, Charged Up, Inversion, Stack on Stacks, Recuperation, Bomber, Distribution, and Powerful Attraction again. While we're using this, I use Touch of Thunder and Knockout, Pulse Grenade, Seismic Strike, High Lift, Thruster. High Lift can be changed for Catapult, whatever you feel comfortable with. Thruster, Spark of Magnitude, Spark of Shock, Spark of Resistance, Spark of Ions with T-Crash. The final build to use is pretty much what I would rock personally going throughout the whole thing, which is a strand design build. I use hands-on for this one with Kinetic Siphon and Heavy Ammo Finder. Grenade Kickstart, Double Bolstering, Detonation. The reason we're using Detonation is because we're using Shackle Nades. Shackle Nades don't really kill, they just hold everything in place. Arc, Void Resist with Charged Up. Inversion, Recuperation, Stack on Stacks, Empowered Finish, Distribution, Powerful Attractions. When you use this build, you'll understand why I say powerful finish. I use this with Banner of War, Danger's Lash, not grapple, shackle. You can use grapple, but if you're using grapple, I would recommend changing a couple of things over. Shacklenade, Frenzied Blade, Catapult Lift, Rally Barricade, Blade Fury, Thread of Generation, Thread of Continuity, Thread of Mind, and Thread of Transmutation. Similar to this, these are like the builds that I use, or this is what I primarily use throughout this entire GM. This is one of my favorite builds as a whole on Titan. I main Warlock, so my favorite build for that was actually the staff. Is actually like a Phoenix build, which I showed earlier in the video. But yeah, these are the builds that I recommend for this week's Nightfall. I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you guys bring these along. Obviously, you'll probably see a repeat of a lot of these builds throughout different Nightfalls, and I cannot stress this enough. When you're using these builds, make sure you understand what they do. Make sure you read up on the exotics. Make sure you understand how everything works. I didn't even mention for this strand exotic, I use a Buoyant Leap, which improves Danger Slash and gives me Woven Mail when suspending a target. Otherwise, if you guys want to see more of this content, like and subscribe. I put out videos every week for the GMs. They are what I clutch up on and do the most. So otherwise, till then, enjoy yourselves.